Welcome to Nerd Network News. We are so excited to be talking to both of you and getting the real inside scoop on Anime Detour and all of the fun and sometimes stressful antics behind the scenes.
I'm Troy McDonald. I am the chairman of Anime Detour.
Hello, I'm Brittany Hecker, and I am a vice chair of Anime Detour.
So starting off, guys, what are some of the most rewarding things with each of your positions?
You want to start, Brittany? Or you want me to start?
You can start.
Okay. Wow, rewards. There's a lot. You know, the planning is all year, and even within that year, we're not just planning for the current year. We're looking at, future years, the next year, in 2 years and 3 years. So it's multi-layered, but I think as far as the rewards, one of the biggest ones is coming up on that weekend and seeing all of the efforts of all of the staff come to fruition. And that all of those efforts, building all of the different exciting pieces, finally being laid out there for all of the community. And being able to see how they take that in, whether they're new to Anime Detour, and to kind of see our particular unique brand that we feel is unique, but has some of that commonality amongst anime conventions, or something is very new to us this year that we're really excited to see how they take that in, or it's something that we've been doing for a long time that is new to a new member of Anime Detour, or a new wrinkle on things. Just putting that whole package that is Anime Detour out there, and just being kind of in that static all weekend, and just feeling that vibe all weekend, from registration and that excitement of being in line, and they get their badge, and then looking at the badge art, and they can't wait to get the program guide, which it's come out publicly today, so they're already digging in. And so we're already getting that exciting feedback of people online, like, I can't wait to see this panel, and what are you doing? And they're already going through and trying to figure out next year's theme. So all and the guests that individuals want to see, the panels that they want to see, the artists that they're excited to see. And then it's a little bit behind the scenes, but we're very familiar with it. A really exciting portion of what we do is being a registered 501c3 in the state, being a nonprofit, is that it is a fundraising effort. It's amazing what we do for the community, but for the community. So after the event is done, with our parent organization, Anime Twin Cities, we get to look at how to redistribute some of those funds as a nonprofit back into the community, whether through our library systems, which we've done for years, or through other organizations that come to us and submit a proposal to receive some of those funds. And we've been doing that for years. I believe our total is probably close to $300,000 over years now. And we've helped different cancer organizations, different animal shelters, Red Cross, NAMI. So we really try to pick as many as we're able to and spread that wealth amongst the community. So it not only puts on this big event all weekend for our local community, the anime community, the fandom community, to come and enjoy and learn about Japanese culture, and there's the pop culture running through it, but then it goes back out into the community to bolster all these different pockets of the community. So it's really kind of the best, most exciting parts of both ends of kind of what we're able to do, all these things that we're excited about as fans, and then reinvesting back into our community. So that's my short answer.
That's awesome, though.
It really is.
That's what excites me. It's a medium length answer, but that's what excites me. That's my elevator pitch if I pushed all of the buttons on the way down.
So Troy finds everything rewarding about conventions. Interesting. What I find most rewarding about conventions, or about being a part of Anime Detour specifically, is that this was my very first convention that I experienced, and I was like a young adult. I unfortunately did not get to experience cons as like a young teen. That coming of age story, I kind of like missed that whole gap because of like childhood stuff. But it was like a very harrowing experience going to my very first anime con and finding this community. And I'm a big old introvert that has like minimal energy to like engage as much as I do with this org. But I'm very passionate about it because it's always been, I think since my second year attending Anime Detour, when I was like, I don't know, 20 or something like that, I was like so enamored with how it shapes the experiences of others and how it like creates this like opportunity for people to connect that maybe have never connected before or didn't have an opportunity to do that before. And so like, you know, I got involved in room parties, I got involved in paneling, but I never quite got involved with volunteering or like staffing, and I did for some other cons. And eventually when I was recruited for Anime Detour, it was like, again, this most harrowing experience. I felt like this was my opportunity to give back. And so my like favorite thing, or the thing that I find most rewarding about this organization, is that it helped shape me, and now I have the opportunity to kind of, from this position that I have as a vice chair, steer the organization in a direction to help shape others in a positive and inclusive way.
Heck yes, I love that. You know, you just hear over and over, the cosplay convention community gives something to its people that they just struggle with. There's a lot of communities out there. They tend to be a little bit closed or focused on one thing, fit in this box and you're one of us. I love just hearing from everyone how much that going to these cons, which some people think are silly, is this area where you actually feel you belong, you can express yourself. It's just awesome.
Definitely.
What's one of your favorite memories in your position, or even a past position you've held with Anime Detour? Give us a fun behind the scenes story.
Doing it for any number of years, I think you come away with so much because you're so inserted behind the scenes. You know, everything is behind the scenes. Even at con, it is behind the scenes. I think a lot of it, you know, more than just like a particular event, is, you know, being able to see, like I said, if you're just, you know, kind of standing off to the side and seeing the people come away from, you know, like say the signing tables, and they just really have been excited. I usually tell it kind of in the, you know, PG version and the R version, depending on hopefully the age of the person coming away from the signing table. They're usually really excited. Like, oh my God, look at this thing that I got signed by this voice actor. They're a little older. Sometimes the language is a little more colorful, but they're really excited to have gotten this thing signed by this person, or the look on their face when they get to finally meet the voice behind that actor and engage with them one-on-one. Those kind of moments. As far as behind the scenes, a lot of it is just us also as fans being able to interact with the people. Even though it's a little different, it can feel a little bit more business-like because it is. But we're also still fans of the anime, of the manga, of those things, and we're still, you know, consumers of that. So every once in a while, you think, wow, I just had a conversation with that person, and it was about, you know, what time lunch is coming or something like that, and you just absolutely forget sometimes, like, okay, so that's a thing that just happened. Or, you know, kind of trying to pull together, you know, like a villains panel last year, and you're just kind of standing off to the side waiting for it to finish, and you think, that's actually this person, that person, this person, and that person, you know, those kinds of things. Or, you know, listening to somebody like Tony Oliver talk, and he's talking about, you know, the early days of working on Power Rangers and having, you know, worked with that from Super Sentai, and he's, you know, discussing that, or the early days of Robotech, and you're like, it's not something that I'm watching online. It's happening 6 feet in front of me, and it just seems weird. And that doesn't really have as much to do with like being staff, you know, because the people in the audience are just, you know, like another 8 feet behind me. Just it's the shared magic that happens at a convention. Like this is a real thing. And just remember, like in some of the real early days of convention, you know, people were so excited to consume this stuff. They weren't watching, even at that time, fan subs. They were just watching Raws. You know, they were just excited to see the product, that they're like, I don't know what they're saying, but I love what's happening here. That's crazy to me, because I
watched anime several times doing that. Like,
yeah,
before a fan sub came out, I would watch it like several times.
Thinking,
Like,
I don't know what's happening, but it's awesome. I'm taking it in, and I can't wait to find out what it is they're saying. But I'm so excited to see this and this product, Or, when they find, we just had a friend of ours out at Amkey, and they love Hamtaro, and they can't wait to find merch from that, which is you can understand a struggle for them. Not only is it a older property, but even when it was right out there, wasn't a lot of merch to be found for it. And they found a Hamtaro Nendroid for her. So when people find something like that in our dealer's room, just those kinds of things, and you just catch that out of the corner of your eye, or the pocket of friends who just are enjoying themselves in a panel or something like that. So those kind of behind the scenes moments, or if you're backstage and a group of the guests of honor are kind of getting their minds together about a panel, and they're talking, reminiscing about when they were in the booth on this property years ago, and you're like, wow, like that. Like I said, they're going to talk about that same story on stage. So it's not so much about getting it a few minutes before the audience. You're just getting to experience the same thing that the audience is going to experience in a few minutes. That these people come and share those experiences with us, and that's just super exciting.
Yeah, I can definitely feel with the raw anime. That's how I learned like 50% fluent in Japanese a few years back, though. But I love that, just a takeaway of behind the scenes, being able to bask in everyone's enjoyment and seeing like small scale and even big scale dreams coming true with meeting your idols. I love that.
Because if you really saw what it was like behind the scenes of an anime convention, I don't know what a regular attendee's mind would do with that information. Yeah, see?
I was gonna say my favorite behind the scenes stuff is actually the crisis control. I know this is horrible to say, but like the staff that we have, because we are like full volunteer run, is like so unique, and like in some ways like such good problem solvers when it comes to like running a thing just because we love it. Like that's crazy to me, and I love it so much. The experience of like joining this org not that long ago, only having done this for like 2 years now, is like so wild, because I have like 10 years of management experience, but not everybody who comes into this role has that leadership experience, but many develop it here. And so crises in the back end of conventions can be anything from like, oh, this guest isn't at this panel at this time, or this person is in the reg system, but it's the wrong name on their ID. Or it can be like itty bitty things like, oh, we need a badger at this door. We need security over here to respond to this. Like, it's such an array of things that create these different crises, but having the ability to like guide and assist the team in responding to these and doing that for fun. Like, I no longer have a management job in my real life situation. So I think that's the only reason that I do take joy in like continuing to do this kind of thing. But I love developing these skills with others. I love helping other people see like the best possible solutions and find the ways to create the best con goer experience, because I've gone to cons for like, I don't know now, like crazy amount of time, like 15 years plus. And so for me, creating the next best con that I have the control and the ability to connect to others to create is such an amazing experience. So my behind the scenes is like, actually the crises are great if you have a great team to help manage them.
Right. And we do.
That's so cool. To be honest, like you're describing skills that you're not going to get in college or high school, and a lot
maybe
of jobs
food service,
too.
but
maybe
like
food service. I can feel that. Let's get into the story of Anime Detour. Tell us about the con itself and maybe a little bit of a beginner's guide to Anime Detour.
Well, it's got a pretty long and storied history, and admittedly, I wasn't here for all of it, despite my aged looks. It was started by, I believe, a group of 8, and it had, I believe it was at least year 2 where it had a pretty unexpected turnout, and they have some really great stories about how they dealt with that crisis of like, oh my gosh, there are an awful lot of people here, and they outnumber us tremendously. How do we give them the best, as Brittany said, convention goer experience right now and every year since? So this is our 21st event. We obviously had to cancel one of the years because of COVID, and the second year we canceled. With that first year, it was just 3 weeks before the event, so we weren't able to do any sort of an online event. The second year we did. I like to say that for me, I do a lot of standing on the shoulders of giants. The people that built this before me and the team that I work with. So a lot of the foundation was built before I joined staff. So it's whether you look at it as picking up the ball and running with it or a relay race, so much of the foundation of Detour, the charitable giving, the missions, what Detour stands for, a lot of the presentation, our room parties, a lot of the things that people are familiar with as far as Detour, we just look to try and make improvements on or bring more exciting things to. As far as a beginner's guide, I think people can go to a lot of anime. Oh, Brittany's got something.
Yes, I have something. Beginner's Guide to Anime Detour. Make sure you have the time and the capability to enjoy a weekend filled with experiences. I mean, we have a lot of ways and spaces to take breaks from things. Our tabletop room is a super chill, super calm space. We have our quiet rooms available. We have super exciting party room parties. We have some chill engagement-based room parties. There's a lot of really cool ways to engage at the level in which you can. We are a 24-hour event, which is amazing. And so from the start of things on Friday until the end of things on Sunday, you could be doing things the entire time. Right. You could also spend a lot of chill time because we are connected to so many hotels in the area. Right. So if you need to take time away from our event, that's also okay because we have the space and the connectivity to do that. But I think the best way to think about this is your nerd destination vacation. We try really hard to provide as much entertainment and engagement as we can at our con. We're super known for our huge vendor hall and now expanded artist alley. We have expanded video games to have expanded tournaments. Our programming content is second to none in terms of the amount and the spread of paneling that we offer. And we also get amazing international guests every year. So in terms of initial rundown, there is something for everybody at this convention. Even though it is labeled Minnesota's largest and longest running anime con, we have so much other stuff going on. We have so many other things to engage with and do, even if you're just on that brink or that anime adjacent. Maybe you like Miraculous Ladybug, but you're the anime world, right? We'll jump into a gaming tournament, jump into a tabletop pickup game. Yeah,
so if you look at Brittany said, so we've got a lot of guests coming from Hell of a Boss, so that's obviously very popular. And depending on, like I said, your level of engagement, we've got all kinds of tabletop events from, your Magic to, what's the Disney one? Sorry. The Disney card game that everybody loves. The name escapes me. We have video game vendors that come, and a lot of them have rhythm games that you don't typically see. Snow Phoenix has a lot of, Snow Phoenix and Event Arcade have a lot of Japanese arcade machines that you don't typically see. We have snakes. We now have snakes. They're bringing reptiles. They're bringing snakes. So we have a pop-up room that's new this year. Like I said, we have over 200 panels. A lot of our panels, most of our panels are attendee run. So they're not only anime centric. I know I did see one about Japanese cinema when I was kind of briefly skimming through the guide. So they can touch on, and one of them was about the year in movies. So they touch on a lot of pop culture as well. So there should be, a little something for everybody. There's, 2 different idol groups on the main stage. We have the South Korean K-rock group, Rolling Quartz, coming in. They're performing live on Friday. So like Brittany said, there's so much to do in 3 days from, the vendor hall, artist alley, all of those panels. We have our dance on Saturday night. We have 5 really great DJs, our headliner, Marilyn, our cosplay contest. So, depending on how many of those things you really want to either put yourself into or out of and at what times, so much to do in 3 days, or chill hangout space in the lobby. There's a couple other areas to just hang out with your friends, or there's other places right around town to, go grab a bite to eat or things like that. Like Brittany said, it's really a destination to go to for 3 days, kind of immerse yourself in whichever fandom. I always like to joke, if you don't think that Bleach is the greatest anime, you're still welcome here. You're wrong, but you're welcome here. No matter what anime or fandom you're into, you're going to find another fan here that also loves that, and everybody can come and find something awesome to do. Some people don't go to panels, some people don't go to the dance, some people just play Magic all weekend. Some people just do all of the video game tournaments. Some people, mix it up, a little from column A, a little from column B. Some people just want to go and hang out with their friends. So it just kind of depends. Some people like to only shop in the artist alley, but we like to try and present as many options for everybody so that no matter what part of that most appeals to you, whether it be the guest panels or the K-pop battles, there's so much to do that we hope people just come out and give whatever it is you want a sample. And like Brittany said, or you can just, there's always, we don't want to present that there is so much to do, but we also like to make sure people know, hey, there's plenty of places to, disengage, pull back and people watch or just kind of hang out with your group. We do have a couple of, like I said, chill spaces. We have a quiet room that our partners Awesome puts on, so you kind of go in there and bring the levels down a little bit. So
for us, we're autistic, and those rooms have been an absolute lifesaver, really helping us to be able to even do this much work that we're doing. Just needing that couple second breaks. You'll be loud hallways, loud rooms,
right.
And just being able to wind down. I really appreciate that. That's something I didn't see when I was a kid. And so, it was hard to go because you have to have kind of a buddy system, and just that makes it so much more accessible. And I've seen so much from yours and fellow cons, everyone taking notes from each other to make sure that everyone can go. And I just want to thank you guys for considering us in that way.
That's super important for us too, to make sure that we can try to represent as much of it for the community that attends us. Makes it easy for people to continue to want to attend us, so that everybody is represented and have those spaces to disconnect. We've have our children's programming coming in this year, so that it's not only, it represents kind of all age groups for the family.
What would be Anime Detour's ideal takeaway for their guests? One thing that you want them to go home, taken home with them from Anime Detour in particular?
I think the takeaway that I would want to highlight for congoers and attendees specific to Anime Detour is this is your community. Like you mentioned before, accessibility is wildly important to us. Involvement, engagement is wildly important to us. Feedback is wildly important to us. The reason we are doing this is for the people who are passionate and love anime and the community, and inadvertently this org. Some people come to Anime Detour and it's like, oh, this is just another convention in the area. But what we're trying to do is make something special, that it's not just another convention in your area. This is your home convention, if this is your area. Because for me, like, Anime Detour will always be like my home convention. Making sure that I know that I always have like accessible friends that like care about my accessibility.
Not to really parrot what Brittany said, but yeah, that this is a convention that we put on for the community, that feedback is always going to be important, not just post-con, but during the convention cycle. What sort of things do they want to see? And not just in terms of offerings, but whether it be things like that they want to see, children's programming, they want to see those quiet rooms, things like that they want to see. Something that we've really boosted this year is our accessibility programming. We've established that as a full-time department and have a really great department head, so that we can focus on that, make sure that anybody with any type of accessibility needs or desires have the best, as Brittany said, that convention going experience that they can, and that their needs and desires are being met in a multi-leveled convention hotel with lots of folks, that everybody has the best experience that they can. But the takeaway that, like Brittany said, it's a community event, that we're putting it on for the fandom, otaku community, the local community, the regional community, to come to here and enjoy this as a community, and really representing that very old school, but still very, very entirely valid as a foundation, that everybody is welcome here. That's the reason that conventions started, even though so many of these things are almost entirely mainstream now. They didn't used to be. So that building block of why conventions started still is the heart of this, is that everybody is welcome here, as opposed to there's nowhere to find these things and we're kind of outcasts for liking them. Let's create an event where that isn't the case. They might be mainstream, but still there's an event where we can all go and enjoy them and talk about them and be passionate about them, even though we can still buy the stuff at Target. But that's fine. They're still safe, they're still inclusive, and that we are all volunteer run, and that we do put the money back into the community. Those aren't meant as selling points. That's just to let people know more about the organization that puts this one on. We still attend conventions that have a different model and still have a great time at them. There's nothing wrong with other models of running conventions. This is just how ours was founded and what we continue to do. And that as a nonprofit, we are required to put that money back into the community and choose organizations to represent that and accept those applications. But that everybody that comes to Detour is important, and we want them individually to have the best experience. And if they're not, we want to know how we can make it better for them.
The thing about that too is like our growth. Like a huge part of this back into the community thing is like, because we're 100% volunteer, because we're nonprofit, like our next convention is based on our success of this convention. So you choosing to come to our convention, to work with our org, to volunteer, to be a guest, to be a panelist, all of that contributes to the content of the next year. So like our growth scales directly with what we have in the previous year. And I think that's a really cool model. I don't know if every con does that. I don't know if every for-profit convention does that. I think we're really fortunate to have so many people dedicated that love that. So
yeah, we have roughly about 250 or 60, I don't know the exact number this year, but it's right thereabouts this year. So 260 people working all year, and then, you know, obviously really intensely 4 or 5 days over the course of that weekend, for all of them having, you know, there's probably a real core chunk of why everybody's doing it for most of the same reasons, but everybody's going to kind of derive a little bit different of a thing out of it for themselves. But they're all doing it for passion, for love, for a sense of, you know, community, those sorts of things. We're all volunteers, and they're all very passionate and care very much about what they're doing. And that's how they're, for lack of a better word, being paid. They're being paid, and those sort of heartfelt emotions, they're not doing it for money. And they keep staffing with us, and they recruit their friends, and they tell their friends, you should come staff with us. You should come devote your time and some energy and your passion to this, and we'll work on it all year, and we'll be very passionate about it, and we'll have some obstacles. But wait till you see what happens in the spring. And then we're going to be a little exhausted, and we're going to take a few days off, and then we're going to start planning for next year. And that I think means something. And like Brittany said, we grow in staff. The convention attendance grows. We've had 33% growth in the last 2 years. So we don't strive to be for a magic number of, hey, we want to get to 12,000 or something like that. We want to have growth organically and safely and efficiently, to whatever that means, so that people can come and attend the convention safely, move around safely, that we have enough people to staff our events, that we have enough space for people to attend events. Those things matter. And then we figure the growth will happen as it's intended to, and should it start to kind of push those limits, we will find more space, we'll recruit more staff, and then find more space. You know, we'll keep shifting those levels to make sure we're at the right spots for everybody to feel safe, comfortable, those kinds of things.
What are some of the difficulties behind the scenes that you guys would like attendees to have a little bit of understanding about? As we know, you know, some mistakes happen. There's a lot of frustration attendees can feel. What can we help them to understand why that frustration may have happened and to navigate it as best they can?
Oh, our escalators last year.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so sometimes, like pragmatically, with our events, like there are going to be complications with the space that we are using, renting, fulfilling for our convention, and we do our best to navigate those relationships with our partners. I hope every congoer, every attendee knows that we always go to bat for their experience. The whole point of our chairman team, Troy as the chairman and myself and the other vice chairs, is this concept of convention steering, right? We're always focusing on making it the best experience we can for the department heads, for the staff within those departments, and for the attendees that have the experiences that are created by individual departments, from our registration all the way to our video gaming or tabletop and all that jazz. Yep. Like, it's really important for us, for other people to know that we are trying our best, but sometimes there are complications that literally can't be halted or navigated. I'm sure we're not the only convention that has had issues with like escalators going down or elevators going down from use. And sometimes it's innovation based. Sometimes there are constructions happening in the area. Sometimes whole streets are being torn up. We try to navigate those partnerships with the attendee in mind. So I hope everybody knows that. We try not to do too much of this like excuse or mess concept. We try to have everything prepped and ready and comparable for the event before we actually host it. One of our accommodations we got and made last year was better signage, more access to stairways, and more access to elevators that previously were not accessible because of the escalator issues. And we can happily announce, I'm sure there will be so many memes about this, but that our escalators are all up and functioning. So despite our event being very tall and so much content happening on first, second, third, and fourth floor, that now you can get to all of it really quickly. Your point A to point B from vendor hall to any panel should be like less than 15, less than 10 minutes. So
right. Yeah, I mean, there can be, for lack of a better word, frustration. And I think it on our end, it's just that because we aren't always able to give the attendees everything that they want, whether it's all the guests that they want, all the panels they want, all the space they want, and sometimes all of the information they want, either because it isn't available, it wasn't available, or it was just now made available to us. So if you get it, relatively speaking, soon after we do, sometimes it'll be said, well, how come we didn't know this earlier? And I understand, it's a very different perspective from the fans than we see. But I think that sometimes is that's why we're in these positions of trying to take that information and reconfigure it and get it back out as best we can to the attendees and explain, this is what happened here, this is where we're at, and if there is a breakdown, this is where the breakdown is, and this is how we can do better for you next time. That's literally our job, is to let you know that, hey, we even if it wasn't our mistake, we've noticed a thing here and can do better for you next time. But we do operate on a finite budget, so a lot of things that we plan, by the time we get down into the budget, it's like, well, we're gonna have to pin this for next year. Or, working with different partners. They are partnerships, but we are also, we're part of that partnership. But in those conversations, things can come down to a no. We would like to do this thing. Can we do this thing? We would love to be able to do this thing. Please let us do this thing. Sometimes the answer isn't what we would like it to be. Or, like Brittany said, sometimes it is the delivery of suboptimal news. You will not have all of your escalators this weekend. And then, we go into, like Brittany said, crisis management of, okay, what can we do? How do we do the best that we can now with this information, and try to do the best we can with that. And then circle back to, how do we make sure this doesn't happen again, or that information is conveyed to us much earlier? And that's what we try to do. It doesn't benefit us to not give our attendees information, to give them incorrect information, or to give them unnecessarily delayed information. Sometimes there's contractual information that we can't reveal due to non-disclosure stuff. But we never like to just give excuses. If there's a reason behind the things, we like to be as transparent as possible. Those are just the responsibilities of leadership and being in these positions. Those are the responsibilities that come with our positions, that we are in charge of helping our attendees to understand, why won't we have escalators? Why didn't we know about this earlier? And now, what are we supposed to do? It can be a challenge because we know, but 8,000 people want to know. So sometimes it can be the repetition of explaining that to people, or, people are very excited to get the programming book. So around this time of year, that people are going to say, when's the guide coming out? When's the guide coming out? When's the guide coming out? Which is great. It's one of my favorite parts when I was an attendee, to get out my little highlighter and try and figure out who programmed these 3 panels against each other. Why did they do that to me? And try to figure out which ones I want to go to. But those kind of things take time, to make sure that we're proofreading it, go to the printer, proofreading it again, trying to find that, get it ready for the website. And we don't like to rely on it, but as volunteers, sometimes windows of time can be at a limit for our volunteer staff with their work schedules, families, dogs, spoons, spoons are important. So we try to be real cognizant of that and kind of build fail safes into that. So it's not just one person holding up a department, but we do try to meet those needs as best we can for attendees because we love their excitement. I think when your attendees aren't excited about your show anymore and don't really care that the program guide is coming out, then we'd be concerned. But so yeah, those are some of the challenges that we try to meet and do our best, and always are looking at ways to improve. There's nobody on our team that is like, well, we're doing the best we can and they'll just have to accept it. We're always like, oh, you know what, we could do this a little differently next time, and we're always striving to improve. I think, and I know that I'm my own worst critic, so, and I think a lot of us are the same way. So like Brittany said, we're here to do the best for the attendees, and I think that's always kind of one of our very top priorities.
It's definitely a lot of balls in the air and a lot of learning and growing as you go and as little fires pop up.
Oh yeah.
There's just so much to putting on a big event like this, and definitely why I wanted to ask that question.
Oh yeah.
A little bit of a heavier question. What would you both like to say to those people, or parents might be a bigger problem with this, who just have those negative misconceptions on what con culture is? I certainly had to fight with my mom when I was a kid about it. How can we help turn that around? Obviously, there's nothing negative we see at con.
Yeah.
There's a couple things here that I think are important, just to mention in terms of inclusivity is not everybody's family is going to be the most supportive advocates for anyone and the experiences of their lives. That's something that has been, not to air all my dirty laundry, but that is something that I've struggled with, is not having supportive parents, as an example. I like to think of, and my experiences at conventions are, it's a great place to find a community where you've never had one before. I know I mentioned that before, it's an outlet for so many, but if you are somebody who doesn't feel safe at home, if you're somebody who doesn't feel loved and supported at home, you can find that at something like an anime con. You might find it at your local game store, you might find it at your local anime club at a library, but you can definitely also find that space to be your best self at an anime convention. I would also like to say that I have seen so much growth in the anime community as it comes to the spread of ages that are involved. From a corporate or sales mindset, you always want to think about who the age groups are that you're selling to. But when you think about the con-goer ages, there are so many more parents involved now, in terms of buying their adult badge and always buying 2 or 3 kid badges, being advocates for their local clubs and their local groups. The inclusivity that is offered at these conventions, the fact that we are an all ages event where we have children's programming and we also have so much nightlife, adult, 18 plus content, and the fact that we have a regimented system for wristbanding for 18 plus and IDing at a registration area via our safety team. The safety and security of anyone that attends our convention is so important. And we strive to make this the safest place that you can be, that you can vacation, that you can run away from, that you can spend with your family or away from your family.
Well put. I love that.
Extremely well put.
Yeah, I definitely, obviously I agree with Brittany. I think a lot of things kind of get a bad rap, and I think some of it could depend on, maybe what it is the parents are looking to do, depending on the age of the children. We have sometimes, and I don't think it's happened too much recently, but in the past we've had some parents who would look to kind of just drop not quite so age appropriate children off at the hotel. To that, I would caution any parent about doing that, and not caution it from an environment standpoint, but just, not for your 7 or 8-year-olds. We don't have and aren't going to take on the responsibility of, being able to watch over anybody else's children in that regard. As far as an actual environment, I feel that the environment itself is very safe. Like Brittany said, we go to great lengths to make sure that the environment itself is safe. We have our own in-house safety department. We have 2 EMTs that we hire that are on almost all weekend, except for maybe the very wee hours of the morning. And we also hire some contracted security folks, plus the hotel has its own security. So in terms of people on site to be able to make sure that things are being managed on top of our executive team and our entirety of staff, to make sure that the environment itself is safe, our weapons policies, making sure that things are peace bonded, things like that, that all of our 21 plus programming is either carded if it's not something that we're putting on, so it's ID'd. And if it is something that Anime Detour is presenting, then they have to have a wristband, which you are ID'd when getting the wristband. If they have some other preconceived notions, we're always willing to, talk to parents and see. I'm not going to try to convince them to leave their kid, but I would, certainly be willing to convince them that this is as safe a place as we're able to make it. We have a curfew in the gaming areas. We have, people are badged from 13 to 17 as a badge. Below that is a different badge. They have different art. They have different colors. So we're able to kind of pick out who is who with which badge, that sort of thing. You can't pick up another person's badge, these kinds of things. So, like Brittany said, it's safety is paramount. If people don't feel safe at your con, that's not good. People aren't going to want to go to an event that they don't feel safe at. That's not good PR. It's not good. People have to feel safe to be able to enjoy themselves, to be able to tell their friends to come and enjoy themselves. And more than wanting people to enjoy themselves, we want people to be safe. So we start with that, and then they can enjoy themselves, then they can relax, then they can be themselves, and they're not worried. A lot of people already are dealing with anxiety issues and things like that. Some people don't like crowds, that sort of thing, that add feeling scared or unsafe. We have a safety hotline that they're able to use. Our safety team wears bright yellow shirts or vests. Almost all of our team has radios. We say just grab somebody with a shirt or radio. So, not saying we're doing everything we can. We're doing everything.
We try really hard.
Yeah, certainly if somebody came up and said, "Have you thought about this?" I can't say that there is an idea where I would go, "You know what? That is a really great idea, and we should try that." We put the information in the program guide as well, sort of a see something, say something, give us a call, let us know, that sort of thing. So we've tried to take as many different steps as we can think of to present people with not only when you walk in, you are safe. If you do not feel safe, here are ways to report it. Here's our safety office. That is open 24/7. They have a dispatch center to radio to anybody on the radios. So or if we needed to, obviously 911, but we think we've done everything that we're currently aware of as options to make the environment safe for people. And I think the one thing that people might leave out is this is a great community that loves itself and loves its members, that they're going to be very protective of people and very helpful of people within the community. I've seen so much of that, and not just at Anime Detour. We do a lot of events at other cons, and I see it multiple times every day at every other con I go to. I'm still in a wheelchair, and I was on my way to the vendors hall at Amkey, and was actually on a call, and somebody was calling out to me that was in line for some really big panel. And they kept saying, sir, and I thought, maybe my backpack was open, or because I thought I dropped something. And there was no Brittany behind me to say, hey, Troy, you dropped something, which is so kind of her fault. No blame intended, but just saying, if we're being honest about things.
You don't have eyes everywhere, Troy.
Well, you weren't there. I'm dropping things. So I pulled out my earbud, and I was like, yeah. And she's like, did you want me to push you? And I was like, no, I'm fine. I was almost to the vendors hall, but just that unsolicited kindness, and it wasn't the only time it happened this weekend, that sort of thing. So again, just the fact that, and we see that all the time with, do you need help setting up your booth? Do you need help carrying something? She had no idea who I was, where I was going, just saw me in a wheelchair pushing myself. and thought that she would jump out of line for, whatever panel required such a very long line, and thought, I'll push this dopey looking guy somewhere. So yeah, I think the community is very responsive to help. I think they would be 10 times as responsive to some sort of troublesome situation.
Absolutely. I can say without a doubt, in my experience, it's not just knowing that the bright yellow vests are there. There is signage all over the hotel. If you feel uncomfortable, if you feel unsafe, or if you're just lost, here's a number, here's an email, here's directions to that safety area so that you can get the help you need. There is reminders every couple hallways that certain behaviors are just not tolerated, and encouragement to speak up if for any reason you feel uncomfortable. And that is certainly, for me, a strong thing that, gosh, if you listen to the negative misconceptions, you wouldn't expect that there. But the safety at these events, at Anime Detour in particular, is way more important than comparative events like going to a rock concert. There's no signage. They kind of don't care if you're uncomfortable. Like more common events people would go to have less safety concerns than I've seen at cons.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I think it's just part of that community, have how the genesis of come together that convention started as, is we're all in this together. We all love some part of this thing, that it isn't just let's just get together in a building and do our own thing. I think that's the difference. And yeah, it very much runs through who we are, and is very important to what we do. Like you said, the signage, things like that. We hope that people come forward. We don't hope they have a reason to, but we hope if they see anything, or certainly feel the way. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people or staff think they see someone who's uncomfortable or having a hard time, and they say, are you all right? Is there anything I can do? And sometimes it turns into, I'm having a struggle with this. I dropped my poster. I can't find this. Or no, I'm completely fine. Or I need a place to go. And then they can say, well, here, let me bring you to this room where you can take a break from, sometimes it's just sensory overload. Sometimes it's a lot of really excited, old otakus,
And even on the small scale, signage and water stations everywhere. Even on the small scale, just making sure that you don't get dehydrated or exhausted, that you take frequent rests and communicate with each other. It's such a tight-knit community.
I just felt super called out. Like I felt specifically like she was talking to me, like all she had to do was say, make sure you eat. And I would have been like, wait a minute.
I feel that. Every time we pass a water sign, we're like, water bottle.
Every time we see snacks, it's like, better grab one.
Yeah, there's definitely a deep care in this community for each other, and it's run by people who care about their attendees and just love that.
Agreed.
Now getting back to the positive note, what are your guys' favorite things about Anime Detour?
I mean, internally, the staff, the people that I get to work with, and obviously on a very large scale, the attendees. As a fan, and kind of a thing that existed for me as an attendee eons ago. And I'm not biased. I love our programming. I really, really love our programming. We get such a diverse chunk of panels. And it might sound, in some ways I wish I was still an attendee, as there's so many exciting panels that I won't get to go to. But then that's just honest. I would love to say I'll go to this one, I'll go to that one, but I'll get in there, and in a few minutes there'll be a call, which is great. That is my job. I love it. It's just I love what that presents. I also love the music that we're starting to bring in, and have been bringing in for a couple of years. But anytime that we're able to bring in something that we haven't, or widen it, and so just add a new thing, I love that part. And then to see a reaction. So when I could not wait to announce Rolling Quartz, and when we did, and people were excited, and then when they made their little video for us, I was over the moon. I was so excited about that. But when Brandon Rogers, people were super excited, Richard, people were excited, all the guests, and you get those even I just see the first 2 or 3 comments, people are like, oh my God. And then they like tag their friend, did you see that so-and-so was coming? And they're so excited about that. Or a couple of people were excited about the pop-up room, and the fact that it's got a little bit of a J-horror theme, and it's not something that we've had before. Parents are excited about the children's programming, those kinds of things. And I get goosebumps like, yes. And it's not just that they're new. It's not the brand new toys. People love the room parties. And it could be the tea room one, could be the one that does just Saturday morning cartoons and cereal. I'm terrible at these questions because I love everything. I love our merchandise. I love our themes department. I love their art. I love everything. End of answer. Brittany will be more specific.
Oh my gosh. Will I? Oh my gosh.
I hope so, because I might as well just say I love everything and just be a terrible interviewee, but I love everything.
Narrow it down. What was the specific? It was our favorite thing about Detour?
Mm-hmm. It can be
it's totally different having joined staff now. Like, it's so weird because previously my favorite thing about Detour would have just been like a whole myriad of answers, right? And then last year being my first year, like as an executive, like I had to spend so much time like running around, responding to crisis, answering questions, like navigating conflicts. But it was like really fun chaos for me. Like, not to be like absolutely neurotic about it, but it was like, I don't know. It was like suddenly I'm in this organization and I'm a part of the experience for others. And that's like, again, like I said before, really harrowing. But I think my favorite thing about Detour now is like this other side of the community. I can't express in any reasonable way that like volunteering adds another layer to your life. And whatever capacity you're able to do it for, whatever like ability or special interest that you have to commit to it, I just think it's like very fulfilling as a community because I have very dear and very close friendships because of this. And I think it has really helped me form additional lifelong connections. And I still look at like 12 different people in our org and I know who they are and I know what they do, but I don't know their name. Or I'll like know somebody's name and I've never seen their face before, but I interact with them online all the time doing very detail-oriented tasks. And it's so interesting because it's like meeting your online friends for the first time. You like get to the convention and you're like, oh, you're so-and-so, because not everybody can make it to every staff meeting. So I would say that like my favorite thing about Detour before this org was probably the community and the people. And now being a part of this org is a different side of the community and the people.
Absolutely. All right, I'm sure that this is going to be a big answer because we're all nerds here. So we'll say top nerdy passions or hobbies for each of you.
Oh my gosh, let me go first. I'm going to go first.
Do it.
Okay, my thing that my friends absolutely just like bully me for this all the time because it should not be your calming, decompress, like chill, mental stimulation kind of thing. But I really love League of Legends. Obsessed with League of Legends. And one of my favorite con experiences is we were tabling at AMP and I made a new friend just like hiding in the very back of a video game room, just being a little creep, just like wanting to play League of Legends really bad. And the Wi-Fi in my hotel room was terrible. So I'm like hiding at the very back computer station and someone still approaches me and says like, inadvertently, do you want to be friends? And then she comes up later at the table and I mentioned like, oh, I couldn't find anything for Lux. It's really sad. And she comes back to the table that we're like ambassadoring at or whatever and says, I found a Lux for you, and she gives me a little pin, and I like cried about it.
That's so
It was so precious. And League of Legends is known far and wide as like one of the most toxic gaming communities. But I would argue that since like more and more people are utilizing the report system, there are more details to the systems that are integrated for reporting, and it has slowly but surely become a slightly safer space for women that like I would say it's not as bad anymore, and it definitely brought me and this girl together. So it's really cool to like still make friends in this org through silly things like I love this video game a lot. I see you also love this video game a lot. So, but I have a myriad of other interests. I like was a streamer briefly, and I played like a ton of video games, Final Fantasy 14 among them. I'm into like a whole myriad of things. I still love anime. I still love manga. I have tons of manga on my shelf behind me. I just like have such a spread of interest now. Like I'm kind of into a little bit of everything because now that I'm into the convention world, it's kind of hard not to be. So like Magic the Gathering is huge. Me and Troy at the last convention learned to play Mahjong, which was amazing. And now I'm like weirdly really into Mahjong. It's like So goofy, but okay, that's my special interest type.
That's a good one.
It is really good.
There's a lot of stuff. I like architecture books and Russian authors, so I don't have any of those weird nerdy things. So I don't.
This is a lie. He's really into like pro wrestling stuff.
Hurtful. Secrets revealed.
And like all the cool bands that we have. He's a big fan of like all of them.
Now, we've had to admit, wrestling is definitely nerdy. It's at so many conventions. It's nerdy. It's not sporty. It's nerdy. That's the final call on wrestling.
Hurtful.
Well, it's also sporty too. But...
Emotional damage. I am familiar with the grappling sports a little bit. I have a wealth of knowledge about this, more than any human I think should know. There are secrets involved that a few people know about me that, there is video that exists, but thankfully it predates YouTube, so there is no online, that I'm aware of, online evidence of me wrestling, but there is video of this. I love world cinema, but that sounds hoity-toity. I love kung fu flicks, Jackie Chan, Chinese cinema. I love that. I love Godzilla films. That also brings me a ton of joy. Obviously, I mean, this of course goes without saying, anime and manga, all of those things. So yeah, like Brittany said, those are kind of the go-to things, not just to, kind of bring you down or, decompress you from a day, but like, I'm really excited to do this thing. So kind of just, bring you to an even happier spot than like, heck, I might have had a good day. The two best things in the world are my daughter's dogs. They are better than all humans. And I've met some really great humans. Brittany is a super excellent human. She's like in my top 10.
Top 10 humans? Aww.
Yeah, that I know.
My cats are probably my cats are probably up there too.
I mean, I don't know all humans.
Big fan of my cats.
You're a pretty stellar one, but man, do I love those dogs. I tried telling Brittany Karbowski a story about those dogs, and I cried in front of Brittany Karbowski, and I'm okay with that. Like, she asked, and that's what happens when you talk about them dogs. I think I even cried about those dogs at a board meeting because we donated some money to the organization that they came from. Don't care, love those dogs. They have never done anything mean to me, so that's better than most people. But yeah, love those dogs. If I didn't say it, love those dogs. You should meet those dogs because I love those dogs, and the dogs even met Acme last year. So I don't know who was more excited, those dogs or Acme. Probably the dogs, but I love those dogs. Those are most of my. I also love comic books. So, but that's like big collector of those. My daughter has a habit of, if we go into a comic book store and they, have the expensive ones, she says in her voice, I have that one, I have that one, I have that one. And I noticed her doing that one day, and I was like, wait a minute, no, I have that one. And she's like, yeah, but when you die, they're mine. And I was like, well then. I was like, I guess I'll be selling them. I could literally hear like the ka-ching, 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 ka-ching. And
oh, children.
I was like, no. I'm still alive. And do you know who was driving that car? Like, I don't know if she put this guy up to it, this drunk driver that hit me, but I was like, wait a minute, were you just trying to get my comics? Like, because those are expensive. But yeah, probably have thousands of dollars in 7-color, 22-page comics that, why do we do these things? But yeah, there's that. But yeah, that's why Star Trek, Star Wars, all kinds of things to watch. I say that no matter how long I live, I will never watch all of the things I want to watch, never read all of the things I want to read. I say that as a positive. Like, there's so much that it's not like, oh man, this is all weighing me down. It's just, yet I still buy books and manga, and there they sit.
Final thoughts, final additions, you guys? What else do we want the fans to know?
This is our 21st year. We hope that it's our biggest year yet. I think even if we have one more person than last year, obviously it'll be our biggest year yet. But our goal is that, again, everybody comes out and has a good time. It's 3 days. We've spent all year planning. for everybody to come out and have 3 days of the most fun that you can. And we hope that everybody takes the opportunity to come out and either see what's new this year, see what Anime Detour is about, give it a shot. There's bound to be something. If you like anime, if you like manga, if you like dances, if you like K-pop, there's a little something for you. Come out, see what we're about. We think you'll like it. We think you'll come back, and we think you'll bring. Well, heck, don't wait till next time and bring a friend. Bring a friend this time. Don't come. You don't have to come by yourself. Bring a friend. If you see Brittany or I in the hallway, feel free to stop us, ask us questions.
Oh my God, I love when people ask me questions. I'm like, let me help you find the resource or the place or the thing to get you to the thing. And if I don't know the thing, I'll always have a radio on me or my assistant, one of my best friends, I'll help you get you to the right place and find the thing.
Or if you just want to say hi, you can do that too. Problem is, if you ask me a question, I'm going to answer it. My grandpa said if you ask Troy what time it is, he's going to tell you how to build the watch. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's not untrue.
Sometimes you're detail-oriented, and that's okay. Welcome to conventions.
Yeah, it's not untrue. But yes, if you see one of us in the hallway or any of our staff, they're happy to help. Even if you're
if you talk to us at the convention, by the way, you get a badge ribbon.
Yes, badge ribbons. We're really pushing badge ribbons this year. Badge ribbons are a huge thing at con.
It's an engagement.
Promoting and not pushing the badge ribbons, but more promotion of badge ribbons that have been at conventions for a long time. But as a convention, we're reinvesting our energy into them to say, attendees have been bringing them for a long time. We want to continue to welcome that, and staff will also have them. So if you engage with staff, we want to play too. But also they are very welcome here. Y'all do them, we'll do them. Let me trade you. That sort of thing.
Yes. So like the badge ribbon things it's really fun. And I solicited to a lot of our staffing departments to kind of say, hey, how would you want to engage with attendees? So if you as an attendee engage with a staffer, there's a chance that they might have a game or something for you to do to get a badge ribbon. So be aware of that. I know we had some pretty cool ones and some pretty fun activities in video gaming. So make sure you speak with them at the head table to just talk about that. And the chairman all have specific ribbons that's fandom specific things that if you do or say that fandom specific thing, we hand you a badge ribbon. So it's a really cute engagement thing. And I guess my big takeaway, that is Troy's favorite tagline in his little intro to our program guidebook, is always take the detour. And I think that's really fun and important. I'm moving across the country this coming year, and I will always come back for the detour. I know Troy's super sad about it. I'm still going to be involved in this org. I love Anime Detour, and this is definitely a huge part of my community connection engagement, and I'm so happy to be part of it.
That is so great. All right, well, I want to thank you, Troy and Brittany, for taking the time to talk nerdy with us. We cannot wait to see you guys at Anime Detour. Head to the Anime Detour website so that you can get registered for a little bit of a discount, then it will be at the door. And until next time, Dark Hearts, stay nerdy.